Okay, hello everybody.
Hi.
I'm Rich from HeyUGuys.com.
Hi, Rich.
Pleasure to meet you. Really enjoyed the screening this morning, and I mean that because I don't watch period stuff. And I sat through that and thought, I think I actually watch all 8 episodes of this. So I think that's an achievement. And
that's
I think
good.
Rose, I'm going to start with you. The casting in this show is absolutely spot on. Did it feel challenging to you, or was it as natural as it appeared?
It was a great challenge, but I was saying this before, there's such a brilliant script as a kind of cement-based layer of this show, written by Andrew. He's really pulled the essence of the chapters and pushed them all together into the first half of the first episode, and really brings us into all these characters in this world so beautifully. So for a combination of brilliant script, the initial rehearsal process with Ollie Blackburn, who wonderfully helped kind of imagine and create this world with his rich knowledge of the Regency period, was so helpful. Bouncing off of brilliant actors. The first part when I'm introduced to Sanditon through the Parkers, we had lovely chats at the beginning with Chris and with Kate about their initial meeting and the exchange of hospitality when they invite her. So really a combination of this brilliant script, amazing cast, constant support on set from Ollie, reminding me of the world and who she was. I was just in really safe hands with these wonderfully talented people. So it was, a great team and brilliant crew as well.
You had an astonishing amount of reaction shots. Do you know about the Spielberg look of awe? You ever come across that before? So Steven Spielberg uses the face of his actors. Now I've mentioned it, you'll see it in every film. He overdoes it. Right?
Yeah.
These days it's just a bit of cliche, but
Yeah.
The amount of looks that he relies upon of his actors looking in awe at a spaceship or whatever. I was thinking about that because you must have delivered 30 odd reaction shots in that one episode, and they were all slightly different because the camera was you were constantly in the middle of the frame, I noticed, and the editor must have been thinking, this is where it's at, how you're reacting to your characters in particular.
Yeah.
How did you come up with so many different looks?
It's funny because I didn't know it was that close on my face, and watching it for the first time I didn't realise it was quite going to look that way or be so close. Because each time you do it, when it's a close-up, the camera doesn't necessarily move any closer, they just switch the lens. So for me that was quite interesting to see how many closes that they held throughout. It's just a question of I guess, Ollie was so consistent with me on set. He reminded me exactly how I felt in relation to these characters at all times. And also, it was amazing for me, Rose, to be on set with everybody. Seeing Chris in your beautiful costume with the top hat.
Thank you, darling.
No, you do. You're just so fab. Honestly, everyone. So I'm genuinely reacting in awe to what I'm seeing and experiencing on the set and with the fellow cast. There's a bit of me in there, really, in taking in the set. For example, Trafalgar House is such a stunning space to be in. It was the initial reaction to the world was quite genuine and kind of linked with my reaction to the job.
I think also that Rose is the audience. She is the audience's eyes, and kind of continues to be that during the series. She's their touchstone, their maypole, and I think it's in these sort of mad characters, not all of them, but most of the characters are quite eccentric, and these eccentric characters do this crazy dance and so she's like Alice. She brings us into this wonderland, and so those looks are sort of, I know they're sort of representative of maybe what the audience are thinking.
That's exactly what they said about the Spielberg before, funny enough.
Yeah.
That's how the audience should be reacting to what's happening on TV. So that's very well put. On to your character, Chris. You've taken in a huge variety of roles over the years, and I wasn't sure going into much about it. Is this going to be, you can be comedic relief, you can be deadly serious, which I always find interesting for characters that can do comedy. And you seem to be a bit both, and I'd say more serious, with a kind of a hint of comedy in there. Like your comic timing is undeniable, and the second that you pop out of the falling carriage, was that a big attraction to this role? Did you add kind of that side to it? Was that always going to be a part of it?
I mean, obviously, with this being an unfinished novel, I didn't really know particularly where. I mean, I had a general idea of where my character was going, but I didn't really know. And as it was being written, as we were filming at times, then, you know, that could easily change at any moment. But what I love is that Kate Ashfield plays Mary, my wife. You know, she's got great comic timing. She has that kind of same vein, you know, where she can play it serious, she can play it comedically, but she has great timing, and it was fantastic for us to just be together and play the beats for what they are, because later on in our journey, in our story arc, there's plenty of opportunity for drama and seriousness, but it's important, I think, to maintain the tone of what Jane Austen is, and that is, it's witty, it's eccentric, it's not sent up, it's based, it's rooted in reality, but it's an eccentric sort of, it's very English, it's very, you know, and I think that's you know, sort of purveying reason why people are still attracted and people keep coming back to Jane Austen, because there's something intrinsically English. And I think maybe we're in danger of losing that eccentricity through whatever reason, you know. And so I think it was quite important to keep that base in reality. And I do think also that Tom Parker has an element of bipolarity about him. He's like a Regency bipolar sufferer. You know, there's huge highs, massive lows, and they can come within half an hour. So I think he's an advocate for early treatment on mental health awareness.
That's going to be a great bit of fun to play.
Oh, it's great. It's great fun, and you know, everyone, all the characters in this show have a brilliant character arc, and they're all quite delineated from each other. I think it's and it looks great as well. It's like this wonderland, you know, and there's a lot more to come. It's you know, I think episode 1 is the hardest one, really, because you have to set the scene. So
many characters to introduce.
Yeah.
Establish relationships.
You haven't even seen Leo's character yet.
I was going to say, things we're into you, Leo. We've not seen you yet. So how do you fit in?
So I play young Stringer, James Stringer, but he's known as young Stringer, and he is the foreman of the job. He's actually building Sanditon, doing the day-to-day work. So Tom Parker is his boss, and he is not the best boss because Tom Parker has some financial problems, and there aren't enough labourers to do the work. Some shipments of the right stone are late, all that sort of thing. But he has aspirations to be an architect. So over the course of the series, we realise that he wants to get out of Sanditon and do something with his life. And he's very talented, so he's got the means to do that, but he's going to have to move through society, which is quite an important thing for someone to want to do. But in amongst all of that, he is going to fall head over heels with Charlotte when he first meets her, because she's rather lovely and they're some kindred spirits. They see the world in the same way. So he's got this conflict of career progress, which means leaving his family behind, and leaving his love behind. So he needs to sort of grapple with that.
It feels like you're on the more serious side of the story, is that it?
Not a joke inside. Yes, I suppose I am, but yeah, I think I would be. But there are moments where there are these big ensemble scenes, and there's always little laughs to be had there. So yeah.
He's passionate, though, isn't he?
He's passionate.
Yeah.
He's not a comedian. That's definitely true. But a very fun part to play, nevertheless. You don't have to.
It's amazing the arcs that they've come up with. Best thing guys can come up with is, say, when they made 3 films out of The Hobbit, so Hobbit's a very short book, and they make 9 hours out of that. And people said to me, "That's ridiculous. It's a short book." I'm like, it doesn't matter how short the book is. If you can come up with 9 hours of storytelling, then that's fine. It doesn't really matter if, The Hobbit started as one line. There was a Hobbit that lived in a hole, and Lord of the Rings came out of that, so that works. they didn't make 9 hours of compelling story out of The Hobbit, so that's by the by. But the fact that this was an unfinished book, it's so interesting to me that the writer Andrew Davis and co have come up with so many characters with compelling stories of their own to tell, which I got a real sense of in the opening episode. Certainly in the Q&A afterwards, it seemed to make sense to me that each of you is quite fortunate to have an arc that isn't reliant on another character. It's about where that character starts and finishes, and that must. I mean, I don't see a huge amount of that in TV. Usually, it's about that lead character and it's the supporting cast around them. I mean, that's a goldmine for a TV show, right?
Well put. Yeah, I think so. And it's nice to work in that kind of environment where there's a collaborative feel to it, and we all get on as actors as a team. So yeah, the fact that kind of work ethic matches the script is, I suppose, a happy match.
Yeah, it was interesting during the process of filming because when we all started off filming, we were all together a lot of the time. You know, there were a lot of ensemble scenes, and as you set the characters and introduced them, we were all together quite a lot. So we were all filming together quite a lot. But then as the story and the filming progressed, we fracture off. We sort of splinter off into our different storylines and into our arcs, and we didn't see each other for weeks or pass each other, on the way to set or something like that. And you go, "Oh, I haven't seen you for 3 weeks. Hi," and then until the end, when we all come back together again. So it's a sort of, so there are very, like I said, delineated, storylines, and everyone has their specific. And obviously the main thread of the storyline is Rose's, experience and growth in Sanditon and her perception through the eyes of the audience, as the eyes of the audience rather. But everybody has their chance in the sun or their time in the sun, and it's and I think it's all the stronger for it. And I think it's, or I hope it is, also. A love letter to Jane Austen and what she might have written had she not died at 41.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Okay, we can bring on to some far less serious conversation now, more general fun stuff.
Good, great.
Who's the naughtiest cast member on set?
Naughtiest.
What is it, Chris?
Me.
Chris is pretty naughty. Annie's quite naughty.
Annie's quite naughty.
Crystal's naughty.
Yeah. Mark Stanley's
naughty.
Mark Stanley.
You're quite naughty.
Have you got any stories you're going to be willing to share?
Have we got any stories? Anyway, we can share.
Loads of mad stuff happened.
I don't want to get into trouble.
Got any naughty stories?
Well, no. No, nothing we can share.
Fair enough.
Too naughty.
If ever I start a new job and I'm surrounded by new people, I'm just like, oh shit, look at all these new people, I can't handle this. There's so many of you in this cast. When did you first meet, and did you have that moment as actors? Are you just so like, oh hi, I'm so-and-so, get on with it. Do you have time for that?
Far too many extroverts all in one room.
Yeah, I felt too many, a whole bunch of egos. Yeah. Just generally, it's huddling under a rain-sodden tent in the
of
middle
insecurity.
Of insecurity. Rain-sodden tent of insecurity somewhere on a beach in North Somerset, wearing top hats. It's we all met at the read-through, really. I think, but we all had individual rehearsals together as well. With Ollie. With Ollie, our leading director, and so.
But it's so different to think about art, like for example our first meeting to then. It's nice like to compare back to the kind of not awkward, but the first meeting when we're finding.
I know.
You were the first person I met on a job, that little rehearsal.
Well, and I met you just after I had my rehearsal with Rose, so it's back in February.
But we got cosy quite quickly.
Yeah, I think we were very lucky in this, and also filming in Bristol as well. I lived quite near Bristol, so generally I went home to my wife and kids. So I didn't do that much going out. I did a bit, but everyone else was, on location in Bristol. So that tends to concentrate minds in bonding as well, and people tend to sort of go out for dinner in the evening as well.
Yeah,
and just go.
It was that kind of close-knit setup. Were you all on site for the duration of shooting? I mean, obviously you were going home, but were you guys, did you stick around a lot?
You were Bristol.
I stayed up throughout. Yeah.
We had the odd week here and there where we were away as a whole crew and cast and crew as well.
In Breen.
Nice. Chippenham.
In
Chippenham,
Yeah.
Weston-super-Mare.
Yeah.
We had a week in Weston-super-Mare.
Sounds like a caravan tour.
Yeah.
A grand tour of the Southwest.
It's like a Phoenix Nights tour, you know. Where else were we? Cheltenham for a little bit, but we didn't stay up there. But so we went out. So we saw the bright lights of Chippenham, and we hit the town of Weston-super-Mare.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty glamorous stuff.
Okay, and finally, what are you all watching right now? What do you recommend?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I've just watched Chernobyl. I think I was late to the party, but yeah, I thought that was really excellent. Incredible.
Reid.
I was about to say that. That's the last thing I watched from start to finish. And it was great. I watched the first episode of when they see us.
Oh, it's hard work, but
Wow, everyone should watch that, especially in today's climate. Fantastic. I'm just one episode in, but just, not really any words to describe it, other than everyone's got to see it. Brilliant.
I'm a huge fan of documentaries, so I'm just in Free Solo,
Yeah.
which is just
that's
awesome.
good.
And I love the main guy. It's hilarious.
he's
His poor girlfriend.
Yeah, I know. Long suffering, I believe.
He just did a video, I think it was for Wired or GQ or somewhere, he talks about rock climbing scenes in movies and critiques them as to how realistic they are. And it's brilliant. It's really good fun to watch because I mean he's such a character.
There's nothing like it. That jump he does on the climb when he has to that he failed time and time out.
It's like the karate move.
Yeah, it's like the karate move, and the heart and the mouth stuff. Amazing.
Good stuff. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey!